On 5 News, fighting on all fronts. Theresa May facing battles at home and abroad over Brexit, as the EU says it wants the deal done sooner. Also tonight, the grim reality of life on the streets.
Your first night is really hard, you know, when you're on the street. Everybody that's homeless has had that first night where they're scared, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to go, where can I sleep?
5 News meets the men and women, young and old, living rough in freezing temperatures. The man guilty of using a benefit scam to fund Islamic State. Thousands of pounds in taxpayers' money, your money, went to the Brussels bombing suspect known as the Man in the Hat. Does growing up north lead to fewer opportunities in life? And meet the little boy getting a very special gift this Christmas. Hello and welcome to 5 News. I'm Sian Williams. The pressure over Brexit piled on the Prime Minister today, and it came from all sides. The EU's chief negotiator told Theresa May that a deal must be reached months before the 2-year limit and that Britain can't cherry-pick what it wants. That came as the government was back in court to argue its right to trigger the process of leaving the EU. And if that wasn't enough, some of Theresa May's own MPs had threatened a rebellion, forcing Downing Street to shift its position within the past hour. Our chief correspondent, Tessa Chapman, reports.
There was a Brexit development at every turn today. As battle lines were being drawn in Brussels, a Tory rebellion simmered in Parliament, and debate continued to rage in the highest court in the land. Thousands of miles away on a trip to forge new trade with Bahrain, Theresa May met British troops and tried to clarify exactly what our exit from the EU might look like.
People talk about the sort of Brexit that there is going to be. Is it hard, soft? Is it grey, white? Actually, we want a red, white and blue Brexit. That is the right Brexit for the United Kingdom, the right deal for the United Kingdom. I'm ambitious for what we can achieve.
So that's cleared that up then. But the deal won't be down to Theresa May alone. In Brussels, the EU's chief divorce negotiator was giving his first official press conference. There'll be no cherry-picking the best bits, he warned, and he wants to get moving.
Time will be short. It's clear that the period for actual negotiations will be shorter than 2 years, and an Article 50 agreement be reached by October 18.
But back home, the Prime Minister is facing another hurdle. A Labour motion tomorrow will call for her to reveal more about her Brexit plans than red, white and blue.
I'm not asking for running commentary, not asking for the detailed negotiating position, just the direction of travel, the main objectives. At the moment, what we've got is a running commentary where various members of the government say one thing one day, another thing the next day.
They're asking for certainty, but there are many strands to this story, and across the road at the Supreme Court, it's been day 2 of the argument over who has the power to trigger Article 50 anyway. Brexit might mean Brexit, but so much is still up in the air.
Certainly is. Let's talk to Tessa now. She joins us from Westminster. The government's position changing within the hour. Tessa, bring us right up to date.
That's right, Sian. A really interesting development tonight. After months of saying she wouldn't be providing a running commentary, we are hearing that the government will agree to Labour's motion tomorrow to publish a Brexit plan. No detail on when or exactly what they will be saying, but it clearly shows they must have been worried that they wouldn't be able to get the votes to defeat Labour's motion. There's more, though. The government is trying to bring the ball back in their court, and they will be adding an amendment asking for MPs to agree to Theresa May's timetable for triggering Article 50. So tomorrow what we will see is actually the first chance MPs will have been able to have their say in the Commons on Brexit. It's going to be another fascinating day.
And we'll talk to you then, Tessa. Thank you. Now, just imagine getting ready for bed tonight, but your bed is actually a shop doorway and your bedspread a damp sleeping bag. You're hungry and very cold. Well, that's the reality for thousands of people in Britain this evening and, of course, this coming Christmas. The exact numbers are hard to pinpoint, but it's thought more than 3,800 people sleep rough on any one night. And the problem's getting worse. Charities say in England alone, the number has increased by more than 100% in just 5 years. Well, Minnie Stevenson has been speaking to one young man who's just beginning his adult life, and he's starting it on the streets.
My 18th birthday, my mother woke me up at 7 o'clock in the morning and made me leave. I think your brain kind of blocks it. You just get used to it in the end. You don't think about it.
Andrew is 19. Nearly every night, the teenager sleeps by the side of the motorway.
Your first night is really hard, when you're on the street. Everybody that's homeless has had that first night where they're scared, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to go, where can I sleep?
Sometimes, if he's lucky, a bed at a night shelter may come up.
There's only 18 beds, and there's like 200 homeless people that normally try to get all these beds and things, so it's kind of difficult to get it.
As the temperature drops tonight, Andrew told me once things became so bad, hypothermia set in.
I was sat outside, it was freezing cold, it was raining, and then my hands got jammed, all my face got jammed, all my body got jammed, I couldn't move, I couldn't speak in that. And, well, I basically recovered and then they basically let me change my clothes, they gave me some blankets and basically kicked me out onto the street again.
We spent the night on Bristol streets, home to one of the largest communities of rough sleepers in Britain. On every corner of this city, bedding on doorsteps with a person inside.
Just being out here, you can feel how freezing it is, but right now in Britain there are thousands of people who face the very real prospect of sleeping rough tonight. It's dangerous, it's frightening, but for so many people, this is their home.
But now, for the first time, 4 Bristol charities are joining forces, asking the public to donate to get people off the streets and into emergency night shelters over Christmas. This drop-in centre makes 600 meals a day. Many people pass through their doors. One of them is Christina, who tonight, for the first time, could be homeless.
All I've got are the clothes I stand up in and a few bits in my rucksack, and that is it. I've got nothing else. This is the first night. If I can't get into the shelter, then I will be on the street tonight. And with my age and my health problems, I don't find that at all funny. I really don't.
Are you frightened?
Yes, in some respects I am.
And it's a rising problem. The latest figures show the number of people sleeping rough in the UK has reached unprecedented levels. One charity told us the rising cost of rent means Britain's most vulnerable have nowhere to go.
I haven't really seen the situation on the streets this bad in the 10 years that I've been working in Bristol. Recently I've been talking to people who've had someone kick them as they were sleeping on the streets, and they've woken up not knowing where they are. Someone's kicked them, or they've been urinated on by someone who's just devalued them where they're sleeping.
And despite being homeless, Andrew told me he's still feeling optimistic.
I'm not planning always to be homeless, but I'm starting from zero. I'm starting at... You can't go lower than this.
So do you feel positive about the future then? Do you think there is a future?
Yeah, I'm only 19. I've got a long way to go.
Charities hope that people's generous spirit this Christmas could mean homeless people like Andrew won't be homeless forever. Minnie Stevenson, 5 News.
The stories there of Andrew, and you heard from Christina, both of whom be facing a very cold Christmas this year. If you want to find out more about the campaign that Minnie mentioned, or of course you want to comment, do head to our Facebook page, and you do that by searching for Channel 5 News. Britain's drinking culture is putting intense pressure on emergency services. An MP's report found emergency workers are facing violence and verbal abuse while attending incidents. It's called for new measures, including lowering the drink-drive limit and a minimum price on alcohol. And the British tour guide who was stabbed to death in Lapland has been named locally as 26-year-old Rebecca Johnson. Her 36-year-old boyfriend from the Czech Republic is being questioned on suspicion of her killing. A man from the West Midlands has been found guilty of giving thousands of pounds to one of the main suspects in the terror attacks in Paris and Brussels. Zakaria Boufassil, along with an accomplice who had already pleaded guilty, handed the money to Mohamed Abrini during a secret rendezvous in a park in Birmingham last year. Most of the cash was taxpayers' money, having come from overpayments of housing benefit. Catherine Jones has the details.
It was in March this year that Belgium suffered its worst ever terrorist atrocity. 32 people died when suicide bombers detonated devices.
Stay down. Stay down.
2 targeting Brussels airport and 1 the carriage of an underground train. The 2 suicide bombers at the airport were with a third man, who's alleged to be Mohamed Abrini, now in custody in Belgium. But in July last year, Abrini was in Britain, specifically in Birmingham, and he met these 2 men, Zakaria Boufassil, here on the left, and Mohamed Ali Ahmed. They met at this park in Small Heath in southeast Birmingham, where Boufassil and Ahmed handed Abrini £3,000, taken from the account of another man thought to be fighting with ISIS in Syria. The money in the account had come from overpayments of housing benefit.
The crux of this case is that you've got some people in Birmingham who have drawn money out of an account of an individual that we think actually is over in Daesh. That money is then being shared and put into the pot of money that's supporting Daesh.
Just 4 months later, it's alleged Mohamed Abrini helped the men behind the terrorist attacks in Paris, which killed 130 people. After another 4 months on the run, he was arrested following the Brussels attacks. Mohamed Ali Ahmed pleaded guilty to funding terrorism at an earlier hearing. Zakaria Boufassil had denied the charge, but was convicted today. Both will be sentenced next week. Catherine Jones, 5 News.
Coming up on 5 News. Back on the track to privatisation, a huge shake-up of our rail network, but not everyone's pleased.
I think cooperatively working, they actually resolve some of these issues we see in front of us at the moment.
I think they need to improve their services first. I mean, work on what they have now instead of adding other things that they can't. They don't look like they can manage it.
And what do you give a little boy for Christmas when he's already got the best present ever? We'll see you after the break. Hello and welcome back. You're watching 5 News. Big changes are coming to England's much maligned railway network. The Transport Secretary is to strip Network Rail of complete control of the tracks, instead making it share responsibility with private companies. Chris Grayling says it'll lead to a more reliable service and a better experience for passengers. Unions, though, say it'll put safety at risk. Simon Vigar has the details.
The daily commute can get complicated, but it's not as complicated as all the different companies involved. Now there's going to be another shake-up, meaning the train companies get a stake in the track and signalling. How do you like that?
Yeah, that's a good political talking point, isn't it? That's doing nothing.
The way they're going now, I don't think that's a great idea. I think they need to improve their services first. I mean, work on what they have now instead of adding other things that they can't. They don't look like they can manage it.
And when things go wrong, there's plenty of scope for buck passing.
I think cooperatively working, they actually resolve some of these issues we see in front of us at the moment.
I think they should go back to being a national rail.
You want nationalisation?
Yes.
Punctuality is way below target, while fares, naturally, are going up. At the moment, the train companies are completely separate from Network Rail, which runs the main stations and the track. And of course, we all know that means that sometimes things are not that smooth. However, there are big question marks too about allowing the train companies more involvement in the infrastructure. South West Trains and ScotRail have already trialled the cooperative approach. The Transport Secretary says it's been a qualified success.
People don't understand why we run the track and the trains separately. Nobody thinks it's a good idea. I'm not in favour of throwing everything up in the air and doing a massive reorganisation, but bringing the teams together on the ground so they work together, so they deliver better results for passengers has to be the right way forward.
Anyone who remembers British Rail knows there never was a golden age, but passengers with Southern Rail right now must be pining for the good old, bad old days. The strike over guards has been running since April and it's back on today. The union involved is not welcoming the government proposal.
This is a slippery slope to the privatisation and break-up of Network Rail, and if that's the government's intention, government's plans, then they'll have the mother of all battles of us as trade unions fighting it.
South Eastern and East Midlands will be the next franchises to try the joined-up approach, while a new Oxford-Cambridge line will be based upon it. Question is whether passengers will really notice any difference. Simon Vigar, 5 News.
Nigel Farage has been shortlisted for Time magazine's Person of the Year award. The former UKIP leader is in the running thanks to his part in the Brexit vote. He features alongside the likes of Donald Trump, Beyoncé and the Prime Minister of India. One man who's already picked up an honour today is the former England striker Alan Shearer. He received a CBE from the Duke of Cambridge at Buckingham Palace for his work for charity. And the actor Peter Vaughan has died at the age of 93. He was perhaps best known for playing Harry Grout in the sitcom Porridge, while he also starred in programmes including Citizen Smith and The Game of Thrones. You would like to think that where you live doesn't affect your chances of a good education, but a new report has revealed a true north-south divide in England. While at primary level there's little difference in achievements, by the end of secondary education, those in the north have fallen far behind their counterparts in the south. Peter Lane reports from County Durham.
The compass makes a difference. North versus south is driving a divide in education, but not in the corridors and classrooms of primary schools like Prince Bishop's in County Durham, rated outstanding.
What's your favourite Olympic or Paralympic sport?
And where a visiting Paralympian was inspiring the pupils today to reach their own gold standard. The fact is, though, that when northern children finish school, they're less likely to hit top grades or go to top universities than southern children. It's a bigger picture no one school can change.
It is frustrating as the head teacher and as an educator in the north that children aren't experiencing or achieving as well as their counterparts in the south because the opportunities available to them won't be as great, and very frustrating as both a mother and an educator.
The Children's Commissioner for England has said northern parents need to get pushier and more demanding, and has launched a year-long study to find out why the attainment divide is there.
Still got the accent and very much promote being northern at LSE.
Yorkshireman James Slater is studying at the London School of Economics. He thinks outside influences like business and parents do play a part.
I think within a northern setting, because there aren't as many bigger businesses set up within the north, that they don't cooperate on enterprise with schools. I think that there's an issue with parents cooperating with students as well, their own children, about what they do in school.
When I grow up, I want to be a doctor. When I grow up, I want to be a teacher.
I want to be a hairdresser.
Runner. Police lady.
DJ. I want to be a head teacher.
There's no shortage of aspiration here, and the North East primary schools are among the most successful. The challenge is to find out why a north-south divide appears as pupils move on from the playground and get older. Peter Lane, 5 News.
Now to one little boy who will no doubt be showered with presents this Christmas, but you could say Elliot Livingstone has already been given the greatest gift of all. He's just 3 and he's spent most of his young life in hospital needing a heart transplant, even living with a mechanical heart for a whole year. A few months ago, though, he got that transplant, and so this year he'll spend his first Christmas at home. Layla Hayes reports.
Like most 3-year-olds, Elliot Livingstone is looking forward to Christmas. But for Elliot, this year is extra special because he'll be at home instead of in hospital.
Absolutely amazing. Yeah, I don't think a year ago we could ever have wished for this. It was always hope, 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 and holding on for the next day and seeing what that brought. I mean, you've seen Santa 3 times already and it's only early December. I don't think we ever could have hoped for this outcome.
At just 2 weeks old, Elliot was diagnosed with a rare genetic condition called dilated cardiomyopathy. When 5 News visited Elliot last year, he was in hospital, desperately needing a heart transplant. He survived by using a mechanical heart for 14 months before a donor finally became available.
You just feel so grateful that in that time they said yes to donating organs.
Yeah, you can't lose sight of the fact that in our happiest moment, someone else in their darkest hour is making the decision to kind of give someone else life. And I think that is, words can't describe how amazing that is.
Elliot is now enjoying the festive season like any other child.
Elliot's case shows us how organ donation can transform lives. Elliot's very lucky
in that he received his transplant and he's obviously doing very well now. But there are still 6,500 people at any time who need a transplant. 150 of those are children.
How do you feel about the family who did this for you?
Unbelievable generosity to a stranger. I think it just shows in today's world where you see so many negative things in newspapers and on the news how great humanity can be.
Without a transplant, Elliot may not have survived. But thanks to others' kindness, he's now looking forward to a very happy Christmas. Layla Hayes, 5 News.
And our thoughts are with them this Christmas. Before we go, Matt's joined us to tell us what's coming up on 5 News Night. Hello there.
Hi, Sean. We're going to have more on the problem of homelessness highlighted by Minnie's report earlier on. I'll be talking to the boss of the charity Shelter about a new documentary that revisits the people who lived in terrible conditions in slums back in the 1960s. We'll discuss the parallels with the housing crisis today. Also, Donald Trump and Nigel Farage, would they get your vote for Person of the Year? Time magazine has got them on its shortlist, along with 9 others. We'll be debating who's had the most impact in a very turbulent year. We were just outside the top 10, Sean.
Were we?
Just outside.
Didn't quite sneak in.
Not quite.
Never mind, next year. Thank you, Matt. That's it for now. Claire Nazir has the weather next. I'll see you again tomorrow at 5. Matt, of course, back at 6:30. Thanks for watching tonight. Goodbye for now.